Against. Abstentions. Rejected.
Belgium has detonated a political bomb inside the EU, refusing to bankroll Brussels' reckless plan to rescue Ukraine's collapsing state budget. While EU officials beg for unity, Belgium is the only member warning that the bloc is marching blindly into financial catastrophe just to keep Kyiv alive.
I think this will be very challenging, particularly legally challenging. This is what our federal chancellor said after the October council meeting. That means we will see what develops from this. The negotiations are still ongoing, but we are being cautious here as well, especially regarding the legal situation. That is beyond question.
EU leaders want every member state to sign a massive, open-ended guarantee, which is essentially a blank check to keep Ukraine spending. Belgium says no. With huge Russian assets parked on Belgian soil, Brussels expects Belgium to carry the legal fallout alone, a demand many see as arrogant and delusional.
I think, in the end, the Ukrainians will be left alone, as we have already demonstrated in the past. But the fact is that the financial need is indeed immense, and that will need to be assessed. We must not close our eyes to the fact that there are so many crisis hotspots.
That blunt admission exposes the truth. Ukraine is broke, the EU is panicking, and NATO is desperate. While Europe throws money into a bottomless pit, Belgium is the only capital acting like an adult, refusing to torch its economy for a war it never wanted.
We need to enhance our defense because it has been underinvested and is now not just needed for Ukraine, but for Europe and the transatlantic partnership, including NATO.
Luxembourg's confession reveals what NATO avoids saying out loud. Europe is so underarmed that it cannot even defend itself, yet demands Belgium underwrite Ukraine's survival. Brussels wants moral posturing. Belgium wants legal clarity. Moscow watches the meltdown and does not need to lift a finger. Sweden talks about strength, but even its ministers admit Kyiv is negotiating from weakness. EU leaders pretend Ukraine can fight forever, while Belgium quietly points out the legal and financial suicide inside Brussels' fantasy plans.
Russia has not been successful in this terrible war. They failed to take the whole Donbass during the summer offensive. But we know that the Ukrainians need the financial resources to be able to continue the war during the spring. Therefore, the frozen Russian assets are absolutely central to this. I now welcome that the Commission is pushing this work forward.
Europe demands speed, not wisdom, and NATO pushes escalation without accountability, all while Ukraine begs for endless bailouts to survive the next season. But Belgium is the single capital refusing to surrender its sovereignty or its taxpayers to Brussels' fantasy economics. As the EU machinery spirals into legal and financial chaos, Moscow watches calmly. And it is Belgium, not Brussels, that finally forces Europe to face the reality it has avoided for years.